I'd like to call the Anaheim City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Diaz. Councilmember Leon.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bugacalba. Here. Councilmember Fessel.
Here.
Councilmember Meeks.
Here.
Councilmember Kurtz.
Here.
Mayor Aiken.
Here.
Let the record show we have 7 members present.
Do we have any additions or deletions to our closed session agenda?
Mayor, there are none.
And do we have any speakers to call forward on the closed session agenda?
Mayor, we don't have any in-person speakers, and we did not receive any public comments electronically on the closed session agenda.
Okay, then we're going to close the public comment period for the closed session agenda and recess to closed session. Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the Anaheim City Council meeting back to order. Clerk, can you please call roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Diaz,
Here.
Councilmember Leon,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bocalva,
Here.
Councilmember Fessel,
Here.
Councilmember Meeks,
Here.
Councilmember Kurtz,
Here.
Mayor Aiken.
Here.
Let the record show we have 7 members present.
The first item on our agenda is an invocation that will be offered this evening by Pastor Nate Snyder from Influence Church. And following that, I'm going to ask Councilmember Fessel if he could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Snyder, you may begin when ready.
Thank you so much. Heavenly Father, we come before you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, tonight. And we thank you so much for these men and women that sit on our council. We pray for a spirit of wisdom and revelation to be upon them as they lead our amazing city. We thank you for every family. We thank you for every just citizen of our community. And we pray that you would continue to provide for us, God, continue to raise up righteous men and women to lead us and to guide us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Councilmember Fessel?
The holiday is quickly approaching as families and friends are finalizing plans to be together. So let us not forget those men and women that are throughout the world, keeping us safe every single day. Let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Our first presentation today is in recognition of Hope House and the great work that they are doing in Anaheim to support recovery from substance abuse disorder and for those experiencing homelessness. Hope House helps people create a new life free of drugs and alcohol so they can begin their journey towards a healthy, productive, and enriching life. On behalf of the Anaheim City Council, I extend our sincere appreciation for your tireless work to help everyone in our Anaheim community. And if you could step forward, we'd like to present you with this recognition and an opportunity to say a few words. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Would anyone like to say a few words? You don't have to.
We'd like to say thank you on behalf of Hope House. We do a lot of work in the neighborhood, and we try to help out every client that comes our way. And it's a rewarding field to be in, and we thank Anaheim for recognizing us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we grab a quick picture? You have to look over there, and then we'll look over here. Invite Cal Optima Health COO Young Kim to join me for a check presentation as we recognize Cal Optima's contribution to Anaheim's leading efforts on affordable housing. Also with us tonight, we are joined by Cal Optima directors and our own county supervisors, Supervisor Doug Chafee, as well as Supervisor Vicente Sarmiento. Cal Optima is a great partner helping us to fill the funding gaps on our affordable housing developments. Today, we are recognizing Cal Optima's support of Fenimore Place, a full-service, supportive housing apartment community that we opened in June. and Cal Optima's partnership on the second phase of converting a former Harbor Boulevard motel into permanent supportive housing for those recovering from homelessness. I want to thank Cal Optima for their partnership and for their support of other Anaheim housing projects, community health, and other critical areas in our city. I'd like to welcome Young Kim to the microphone.
Oh, of course. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. I'm Yoon Kim, Chief Operating Officer for Cal Optima Health, and we're just really privileged to be here tonight to present the city with 2 ceremonial checks that represent really life-changing grants that create housing opportunities for residents of Anaheim and in our community. I'm joined here, as the mayor said, by 2 members of our board of directors, Supervisor Sarmiento and Supervisor Chafee, who have really dedicated the vision as well as the support and resources that allow Cal Optima Health to do investments like this in our community. Before I turn it over to the supervisors for some comments, I wanted to give a little bit of background on how Cal Optima Health is able to do programs like this. Through the California Department of Healthcare Services Housing and Homelessness Incentive Program, Cal Optima Health has been able to earn up to $83.3 million in state funding, draw those fundings down to Orange County to address housing insecurity for Medi-Cal members here in Orange County. We're really proud that we have been able to draw down these funds and then combine them with additional funds that our board, including Supervisors Chafee and Sarmiento, have dedicated and create a funding opportunity and pools to distribute to projects in a way that is transparent and equitable throughout Orange County. In October, we were able to release funding of up to $52.3 million for 15 projects throughout Orange County, including the 2 here in Anaheim. The 2 grants here in Anaheim total $5.4 million and will help support 189 units of affordable housing for residents here locally. We are so grateful to the city of Anaheim and for the leaders here for the partnership to support the lives of our families and our members and our neighbors here in the city of Anaheim. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Supervisor Chafee.
Good evening. My name is Doug Chafee. I'm your 4th District Supervisor, and I know a lot about Anaheim. My mother was born in Anaheim. She was a Anaheim High School colonist. Of course, I was a Fullerton Indian, so that made it for good battles. So I'd like to thank Mayor Aiken and the Anaheim City Council for the invitation to celebrate these outstanding projects in the city of Anaheim. Cal Optima Health is a leading provider of health insurance in Orange County, covering nearly 1 million residents. That's going to grow because we're going to start covering people regardless of their immigration status after the first of the year. Cal Optima Health offers Medi-Cal health insurance for vulnerable, low-income children, adults, seniors, and people with disabilities. This effort is all part of a state initiative called CalAIM, which is California Advancing and Invocating Medi-Cal. Through this effort and additional dollars dedicated by our board, Cal Optima Health is pleased to have contributed over $5.5 million to the city of Anaheim. Those are 2 checks for 2 separate projects that were just described for you. So I'm not going to re-describe them, but rather I'd like to thank everyone here for their work in finding the projects and following through with all the details that you have to do. It's a lot of work. You have to do all the blanks and cross the I's and the T's to do it. We take the position that housing is health. We share Mayor Aiken and the council's commitment to increasing the availability of affordable, stable, and supportive housing. We're grateful for wonderful partnerships like these that help us set an example throughout the nation on what health plans can and should do for their members. So thank you for the invitation and opportunity to celebrate with you. With that, I'd like to congratulate you, but I've got to take advantage of one more thing. I'd like to thank your police department for working with us to create another gun buyback program. Last year, we were able to do a gun buyback program. We got hundreds of guns off the street, including 16 assault weapons. That's kind of scary that there's so many assault weapons out there, so we're very glad to get them taken back, where they'll be melted down at a smelter. So last year, the city of Placentia took the lead. This year, I'm pleased the city of Anaheim has indicated it will take the lead for our next gun buyback. So thank all of you for the great work you're doing for your city. Now I'd like to introduce Vicente Sarmiento, my colleague on the Board of Supervisors. We also both serve on the Cal Optima Health Board. Supervisor Sarmiento.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Excuse me. So one of the things I should tell you, I'm a late add-on to this, so I'm going to go ahead and go off the cuff. Both Mayor Aiken and I have children who are competing in a mock trial tournament tonight. So I was supposed to be there. My wife was out of town, but she miraculously made it in time for me to be able to come here and be with all of you, because it's such an important occasion tonight. So thank you for the opportunity to come with you and present these ceremonial checks. They mean more than just the money. It's really the partnership that we have with you, and I want to thank Dr. Wyke, I want to thank Michael Hunn, and all the Cal Optima team that have really leaned into this. Cal Optima is a health plan for nearly 1/3 of the county. Residents. Almost 1 million residents belong to Cal Optima. That means that these are folks that have needs that normal traditional coverage doesn't care for. So we realize that as Supervisor Chafee said, health plans no longer just dispense medicine, right, and care. They provide housing because we realize that housing is a form of health care. So we can't do this without partners like the City of Anaheim. We know that there has to be a willingness, a belief in making sure that people are housed, whether it's permanent supportive housing, whether it's affordable housing, or a blend of the two. So we know that this continuum of housing and care is really complex. People have different needs, people have different obstacles, and we know in our county, and especially in your city, you have people that have varying demands. And so we want to make sure that we're good partners with you. But we thank you, because I know we've been at some of the openings of this, and we've seen some of the people who are receiving the support that we all give together as a team, and it changes lives. There's hope in their face. There's a promise in what we do for people, and so we know that this is something that we want to continue doing along with your help. We certainly feel blessed to be able to work with you all. We know that in the county, we've delivered now close to 1,100 units of both permanent supportive and affordable housing through the Cal Optima effort. So we want to continue to do more. We thank you for being earnest partners in this, and so once again, we appreciate the space. We know that it's 2 big checks that we're delivering tonight, but it's more than that. I think it's love. I think it's care. I think it's all of us saying that for those who are going through difficult times, we're here for them. So thank you all, members of the council and public, and Madam Mayor, thank you. I appreciate the time. Thank you all.
So now I'd like to call to order the Anaheim Housing Authority in joint session with the City Council. Clerk, are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agendas?
Mayor, there are none.
Can you please outline the public comment procedures for those here tonight and call forward the first speakers to address the council agendas?
Thank you, Mayor. There will be 2 public comment periods with speakers having 1 opportunity to address the City Council. This first public comment period is 90 minutes or until all agenda item speakers have been heard. Any time remaining of the 90 minutes will be provided to speakers who wish to speak on any non-agenda related items, but within the council's jurisdiction. The second public comment period will be opened by the mayor if any non-agenda item speakers were not heard during the first public comment, and it'll be opened at the end of council business. The time limit for public comment is 3 minutes per speaker. Those wishing to address the City Council must complete a speaker card, which are available in the back of the council chambers. The name and contact information requested on the speaker card is optional. Any unidentified speaker will be called by a speaker card number. At this time, I would also like to note that Spanish interpreting services are provided at every City Council meeting. Simultaneous Spanish interpretation is provided through the use of headsets, and consecutive interpretation is available to anyone who would like to address the City Council. For translation services in other languages, please contact the City Clerk's office at least 48 hours prior to the scheduled meeting. At this time, I would like to introduce our interpreter who will be making the same announcement in Spanish.
Muchas gracias. Muy buenas tardes. En todas las juntas del Consejo Municipal se ofrecen servicios de interpretación simultánea al español por medio del uso de audífonos y se proporciona interpretación consecutiva para cualquier persona que desee dirigirse al Consejo Municipal. Para obtener servicios de interpretación en otros idiomas, tengan la amabilidad de ponerse en contacto con la Secretaría Municipal al menos 48 horas antes de la junta programada. Muchas gracias.
At this time, on behalf of the City Council, we would like to remind the public that Anaheim remains committed to freedom of speech, and we ask that speakers address the City Council with civility and refrain from making personal, threatening, abusive, slanderous, or profane remarks towards any member of the council, staff, or general public. We appreciate you reflecting this spirit when you speak. The time now is 5:22 with 90-minute public comment period set to conclude at 6:52, or until all agenda item speakers have been heard. We ask for speakers to please line up at the podium once they see their name appear on the projection screen behind me. And Mayor, we don't have any speakers on agenda items. We do have 8 speakers on general comments, and I'll go ahead and call those speakers first. Our first speaker, is it Mastal?
Hello, everyone. I'm going to continue with this book, There. It's about the colonists, Anaheim High School. Yeah, it is Masat. Okay. It's Masat, the Peyolotzin. It's okay. Metacomet was beheaded and dismembered. They tied the 4 body sections to nearby trees for the birds to pluck. Adaman was given Metacomet's head, which he kept in a jar of rum and for years took around with him. Charged people to see it. Metacomet's head was sold on Plymouth Colony for 30 shillings. The going rate for an Indian head at that time. The head was put on a spike, carried through the streets of Plymouth, then displayed at Plymouth Fort for the next 25 years. and to end. In 1637, anywhere from 400 to 700 Pequot Native Americans gathered for their annual green corn dance. Colonists surrounded their village and set it on fire and shot Pequot, who tried to escape from the colonizers. The next day in Massachusetts Bay Colony, they had a feast and celebration, and the governor declared it a day of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving like these happen everywhere. Whenever there were what we have all called successful massacres. And one such celebration in Manhattan, people were said to have celebrated by kicking the heads of Pequot and Native Americans people to the streets like soccer balls. And that reminds us of the school, Rubacalba, and also Lou Correa and Gustavo Arellano. You guys have a responsibility and duty to help our Native American community, and that includes Chicanos, or maybe you call yourself Hispanic, Latina, Latinx, Mexican American, all these labels that the government labeled us. And if you have Native blood in you, then you should feel some respect and love for darker skinned Natives. The lighter you are, the white privilege you have. If you're a white Mexican or if you're a darker Mexican, Mexica. I told Gustavo Arellano, went to his office in downtown Santa Ana, gave him this book. And I was surprised he actually read the book. But just recently in Huntington Beach, Bolsa Chica, they gave him some land, the Tongwa de Hachiman. But there is a letter from Virginia Carmelo to change the name of the school, the Colonists. And we come to you respectfully, peacefully, without guns, like the mascot that hasn't completely been abolished, that you somehow help us, or even the city mayor, that you have the power, and the city manager. It's time that we do this before American movement gets involved. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Art Castillo.
Good evening. I don't want to stay on the same agenda that I was with the SORs in our schools from last week, and to go on further to add on again the problems in our communities that were fully integrated with Hispanic people, Mexican people in the apartment areas and in certain areas of the city that back in the 70s when they were coming in and going to our schools, and then we had to put them in places. So the Ponderosa area, the place called Jeffrey Land, now Hermosa, and other names in the community that we had put these families and these young kids that are going to our schools. And again, I got nieces and nephews and grands going to these schools. So I'm worried because of what I had to go through. And again, I like to make a statement again to the police department. I have been so supportive to them and working with them. So it's not all of them. They need to know that. Not all of us claim all. It's the ones that do the wrong, the bad apples. And everybody has bad apples in a group. So I just want to focus that we have the SORs in our schools that are doing to our schools, and then we have the police in the neighborhoods. Again, I really would like to get a feedback from some. I got 50 years of being involved, and I haven't heard anything. We have neighborhood community gatherings where we go to your local neighborhood, and the police come in and tell us how the community is. But also, we need to talk about the problems we have, and we need to make the SORs with that kind of training with the officers are put out in those designated areas. And the police review board on that was made for the problems we had. I think you got to look into it, that we can do we can have the neighborhood council meetings with the police department, but the police department the police review board was for us to have a complaint and problem. And remember back in the 50s, the time when we started that in the 90s, when we came and got that review board, a lot of people were turned off because we weren't able to speak or get our problems heard. So I'm just giving you some of that insight that some of you don't go to these meetings or see how it's being laid out. So I think it needs to be revamped, and if we can get some of that more concentration on people who can delegate that situation of brutality or killing of a person. So I just wanted to throw that at you because I think we have community centers that have local meetings that you, in your districts, and that does have police community watch issues there. And the review board should be settled for what it was supposed to be. And I think that's a lot of us are having that conflict, is that we're not being heard and we're not able to get any feedback. So before I stop, there was 2 people that came here to ask for help, and they asked and gave their phone numbers, and they were told they're gonna get return calls. They didn't. So they were very upset with that. So this is something
Mr.
that
Castillo, I'm sorry, your time is up.
you guys need to be aware of. That's all I'm gonna come and try to get you guys up to date, so hopefully you can do something. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Mark Richard Daniels.
As promised. Mark Richard Daniels, born in Anaheim, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm a card-carrying member of Cal Optima for many years, and they've helped me through a lot of my physical ailments. It's a wonderful program, and thank God we have them. Medicare, Medi-Cal. I have the whole thing, thank God. And it's come in handy. And also I want to touch on the fact that now it's coming up on a year that a mayor and you council members that took the oath of office last year, it's already a year. And looking forward into 2024 and beyond, every day we have to set goals for ourselves. And I don't hold an elected office, but I still have to set a goal for myself, a new mountain to climb or something. Yeah, you have to have some kind of a purpose. You can't just sit on your laurels, not that I have any, but you have to find things to make yourself part of the community. You can't just let others do it. And that's how I've always felt. And I look at some of the young people that are involved in this community and for various causes, whether it's on the school level or on the city level or whatever level, and helping the homeless, helping people in need. And it gives me so much hope for the future. It literally, I think, my gosh, one day I'm going to be taking up space over there in Anaheim Cemetery, and I think, the future is in the hands of the young, and thank God for that, because we need people to step up. And I just also was thinking about spending the evening across at the promenade during the Christmas tree lighting. And I sat with my friend, Tamara Hernandez, who is a outreach for the lighthouse, Anaheim Lighthouse, and the great work that they do. And Tamara has been through so much in her life, and yet she's willing to get herself back on track and helping others with a situation that, literally you could either get killed, you could just basically just give up, or you can make a difference. And she does make a difference. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, Dwayne Roberts.
Good evening. I'm Dwayne Roberts, editor and publisher, AnaheimInvestigator.com. I'm here to do a follow-up on the campaign finance reform discussion that took place at the last meeting. First, whereas I think the Levine Act will do well with regulating the corrupting influence of money in smaller municipalities, it could backfire in big cities like Anaheim. Though I disagree with Councilman Diaz on various issues, he made an astute observation. He stated he feels the Levine Act will lead to more funds being pumped into independent expenditure committees. He's right. I believe we're going to have a much bigger problem with IE committees now as they get cash that would have originally gone into the campaign coffers of candidates. Second, I'm of the opinion the Levine Act is going to give candidates who are well-connected and have wealthy friends an advantage over candidates without them. For example, I've reviewed 460s some of you filed in 2022, and there's one person who got pretty hefty campaign contributions from lawyers all over Southern California. Since many of these lawyers don't do any business with the city, they won't have to worry about the Levine Act. They can continue to write out big checks in future election cycles. Now, I'm not here to pick on lawyers or this person in particular. The point is that the law of unintended consequences is going to kick in. I think the Levine Act, as applied to Anaheim, might actually skew our elections more in favor of the rich, the powerful, and the well-connected. Second, I'm of the opinion any IE committee recusal ordinance can be easily circumvented and challenged in court by business interests. For example, everybody points to SOAR as an example of an IE committee that such an ordinance would apply to, given that the Walt Disney Company mostly funds it. But my guess is that if it ever went into effect, Disney would dissolve SOAR and join a new committee which commingles resources with 50 other business interests. How could a council person recuse themselves on votes if an IE committee that backed them got money from everybody under the sun? Would they be able to vote on anything at all? Okay. Unless you can show there was a nexus or a quid pro quo between this council person and businesses on this IE committee, I suspect it's going to be tough to enforce this ordinance, much less defend in court. In closing, we need real structural reform, not gimmickry. It's time for a discussion about creating a system of publicly financed elections in this town. Such a system is not a panacea, but compared to what we have, it would be a vast improvement. Thank you.
Next speaker, Matthew Duncan.
Matthew Duncan, 26-year resident of Anaheim. To resume my comments about the coyote trapping and killing program in this city, just want to mention that when you faced, or when the council faced 6 years ago, the dilemma of what to do about coyote issues in the city, they had a choice. They could hire a trapper, start trapping and killing, or they could follow the recommendations of California Fish and Wildlife, which was to remove the attractants, not get engaged in trapping and killing. Well, just a couple of observations. In cities that elect to trap and kill wildlife, the first thing they need to do is demonize, to some degree, that wildlife. I was recently at a park in Anaheim Hills where trapping has been going on, and I observed a sign, took a photo of it, and I broke my glasses tonight, so I'm going to read through one eye. The sign said, "Warning, active coyote area. Coyotes are wild, dangerous animals." I'll repeat that. Coyotes are wild, dangerous animals. Now, in contrast, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, maybe you've seen this brochure. It's called Keep Me Wild. Has just some real common sense strategies for coexisting. I knew these when I was in elementary school. Let me just read three of the statements in here. Again, these are from biologists from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, very knowledgeable about coyote behavior. Coyotes play an important role in the ecosystem, helping to keep rodent populations under control. They are, by nature, fearful of humans. I repeat, they are, by nature, fearful of humans. Coyotes will take advantage of whatever is available, including garbage, pet food, domestic animals, including pet cats. Lastly, help prevent deadly conflicts for these beautiful wild animals. So the one thing the city of Anaheim and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife have in common when they describe coyotes is both describe coyotes as being wild. But other than that, there's very little in common because the Department of Fish and Wildlife respects coyotes, just like me, that I have since I was just a kid. In fourth grade, did my science project on coyotes in Anaheim. And they do not demonize coyotes. They respect coyotes. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Wes Jones.
Mayor, Council, my name is Wes Jones, and I am an Anaheim resident. Let's talk about independent expenditures and campaign finance reform. It is my belief that Dr. Moreno's ordinance he previously put forward is fine, except the limit of independent expenditures. I think the dollar limit for independent expenditures should be $100,000. Plenty to run a campaign in the city of Anaheim, and if you're worried about mischief, forced recusal, you would have to be mighty committed to drop $100,000 on something like that. While we are on the subject of recusal, I do not believe that this body, the Anaheim City Council, is fit to vote on the matter of campaign finance reform. 5 of the 7 of you benefited heavily from independent expenditures. The last time it came before this body, Councilman Diaz, this was in the last council, honestly stated that he was not going to vote for campaign finance reform because he didn't think he could get elected without the money. Our District 4 representative was appointed, but I have no doubt that in the next election cycle, she will receive independent expenditure support. Our District 2 representative is the only one I think that is clean on the council, fit to vote on this matter. So before this council votes on campaign finance reform, please examine the tremendous conflict of interest this council has on campaign finance reform. I don't know who would resolve this, but obviously there's too much money floating on this council to honestly vote on this. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, Vern Nelson.
Hello. I wanted to talk for a moment about Brian Kay, who's actually a really nice guy who's done a lot of good things for the community. I want him to know that everybody here is against calling Polish and Jewish people or anybody else the N-word, especially if the person saying that is a city employee or policeman. If anything like that happened or has happened or ever happens, I want him to know that all of us here condemn that, and I hope that gives him some resolution. Thanks for at least discussing independent expenditure recusal at the last meeting. I still think that's what our city desperately needs, but I want to reframe why it's needed. I know that Mr. Diaz, Mr. Fessel, Ms. Meeks insist that their votes are not for sale, that they vote their consciences on each issue, and that the only reason Disney and other big special interests allied with Disney pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into IEs to elect them is because they agree with their philosophies. Let's take them at their word, but we should frame the problem differently. This is the real problem. It should not cost $500,000 to $750,000 to run and win an election for a council seat representing 1/6 of Anaheim. This really makes it impossible for anyone else who's not getting those special interest IEs to compete. And of course, this rule, Natalie, would apply to unions, not just the police, fire, and building trades, but also the smaller, less powerful unions who helped Ashley and Carlos win. I listened to the problems you guys had with IE recusal, and the one you mentioned most was the possibility of, in Rob's word, mischief. That is, a special interest donating just a little above the threshold amount to make sure a council member they don't trust has to recuse themselves. You guys mentioned that threshold as $251, since $250 is the recusal threshold for direct contributions and recusal. I agree with Carlos that the most obvious solution to that is to make the IE recusal threshold much higher than $250. After all, we're trying to bring the figures spent on IEs down from the hundreds of thousands. Offhand, 10,000 sounds about right. If Disney and SOAR, for example, can spend no more than 10,000 each on their favorite candidates, that's a big improvement. And if they want to be jerks and spend $10,001 on someone they wanted to force to recuse, well, at least that would be a helpful amount to their campaign. Also, would they really want a dirty trick like that to be reported in the media? But I also wonder if Dwayne Roberts is right, and whether or not we manage to get an IE recusal rule, we should also look at publicly financed elections, which would be another perfectly legal and constitutional way to level the playing field for candidates so we can have a real democracy here. Publicly financed elections are something our state senator Tom Umberg has been working on, and he's going to be the guest speaker at our next Anaheim Democrat Club meeting Thursday night at the Unitarian Church. I really think all of you should come to that, especially Ashley, Carlos, Norma, and Natalie, since you are Anaheim Democrats. We'll be talking about not only that, but affordable housing, the Surplus Land Act, and Disneyland Forward. I'll leave it there for now so I don't go over time again. Hope to see you all Thursday night.
Next speaker, Brian Kay.
I didn't know Lauren was going to say that or anything. Happy day. Wanted to give you a copy of my psychiatric evaluation. At the last meeting, I was given that envelope. It didn't feel like an answer to the petitions I've presented in the past. Didn't feel like the evidence or an apology or anything. So I just kind of brought it back to you guys. Thank you for. It's a shame because I've petitioned each and every one of you on that matter. It took them about 10 seconds. Like, you know, we come here because we love you. And we hope that you're going to make wise, healthy decisions to help all of us, not just myself. You know, when I stand here and speak, I speak on behalf of my mother, my father, my wife, members of the community whose names I've called out and asked that they be given attention and help. You know, we want to see Anaheim succeed. You know, the Christmas party, Steve Faisal up there with Yesenia Rojas and Susan, your wife, and you guys were so happy and you're smiling and you actually waved to me. I mean, like a great, big, happy, loving, just a sincere smile. Look, we realize there's money issues. We realize there's problems. And I'll share the petition I've brought. It's a foundation to all the other problems that are facing you. If you address these issues, you're not going to have people coming down here upset. You're going to have people coming down here praising you. You know, somebody asked me to, again, asked me not, like last week, said, say something nice. Why? What have you given us to say that's nice? You know, and I've come down here and I've delivered speeches that were just so warm and loving and caring that when I left, people asked me what was wrong with me. You know, we come down and ask you nice, please answer us. Please. Happy day.
Our next speaker, Mark Herbert.
I'd like to follow up on Mark Daniels, where you mentioned it's coming upon a year for the new council. And I've tried to focus on process issues this past year. And I am happy the council has acted in a positive way on 3 of them, that we have masks for the meetings for those who wish to wear them. We have the Wi-Fi code available for those who wish to follow the meeting on their phones here, and that we are better prepared for larger crowds. All good accomplishments. I then moved on to another level of process, which I thought would be building on those small ones. And I thought maybe it'd be good to hear about where we are on fire station number 12. It had passed the process, it had been budgeted, contract had been out for design and build, and yet we haven't seen the ground broken. I brought another process question, that we have lobbying laws here in the city, short, 5 pages. It appeared to me there was a violation by Jill Wallace and Red Hook Properties during the prep school project, scholarship prep. Seemed to be a clear violation. Haven't heard on that yet. And then I suggested a few meetings back that perhaps we stream the Planning Commission meetings. Again, it seemed like a process question. You have the equipment, you have the room. Still waiting on that. So I'm thinking maybe those last 3 were too big of a reach for the council, and I should relook at my efforts here. So I thought, while we wait on those, perhaps the council could use their council communications to keep us abreast of those 3 items. There are 7 of you, 8 if we count the city manager. And last meeting, very long meeting, 1.5 hours of it was your council communications. And I was brought up to date on new restaurants and other festive occasions, but those struck me more as council PR or council obfuscations, not communications. So perhaps moving forward, one person could take about 30 seconds out of their council communications and give us an update on those 3.
Mr. Herbert, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Kenneth Batiste.
First thing, giving honor to God, those on the council, serving the God of the people. I want to bid all of y'all happy holidays, and I hope that you're going ahead and wish you well with your families. I also wish you consider our family of our humanity, the people that are homeless, that's out there in the cold, that's out there in the rain, that's out there wet, getting sick. We promote public health. You talk about public health, well, when people get sick, it affects us all. Didn't we just learn something? Just breathing the air? Let me get down to the real business. The Levine Act. Something my woodshop teacher told me a long time ago. He said, you know the golden rule? I said, yeah, do unto others as they have them do unto you. He said, no. Batiste, those with the gold make the rules. There's never going to be any rules in here made against the real, true money hungers. That's just a bigger, and it's the biggest threat to our democracy in our country today. Other countries go ahead and look at our officials, and they think of our officials over our government like they're a $2 hole. We can buy them out. They all for sale. They selfish. They thinking about their damn self. Look at America. As long as we give them money, they'll give us what the hell we want. Forget the citizens. Look at your rent going up. When $2 billion from Saudi Arabia come over here being invested, what you think they invested it into? They're investing into our lands. They're investing it into apartments and stuff. They setting up so they can get their money back, and they doing it on the back of the citizens, while our government officials don't do a damn thing. They sell us out. So let's get down to it. Real change is going to only come when we make the change. I don't think when one of our officials said, I could never win without the money. The problem is that you owe the money hungers. That means you are a puppet of what they really want. The Disney Forward was supposed to be a winner in the city. Did the 1996 parking lot over there, $1 billion that we still paying for 40 years later, we still in debt over that. Excuse me. I'm gonna close with this. Councilman Fessel, I ran against you in the last election. You had over $800,000. I had $15,000.
Mr. Batiste, I'm sorry, your time is up.
But I would never participate in a mock schedule meeting to promote a deal for Angel Stadium. I would never sell my residents out like that. Thank you.
Mayor and City Council, that concludes all our in-person speakers. And noting for the record, we did receive 2 general comments electronically. Those were distributed to City Council, and they were posted on the city's website.
Thank you, Clerk. We're going to now move to we're going to close the public comment portion of our meeting and move to council communications. If any council members have items to share, can you please ring in? Let's start with Council Member Meeks and then Council Member Diaz.
Just real quick, we had a loss at the Orange County Water District. I sit on that board, and board member Kelly Rowe passed away recently, very unexpectedly. And he was well known in the water industry and quite a great representative on the board. We will miss him, but if we could close the meeting in his memory, that would be great.
Thank you. Councilmember Diaz?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this Saturday, December 9, at Peter Marshall Park, 2 playgrounds are going to be built. Are asking for volunteers, anybody in the community that want to help build your community. Please be there from 8 to 3 p.m. It's 2 playgrounds that have been donated by a combination of the Anaheim Ducks, the Boys and Girls Club, and the Kaboom Corporation. Please, you're willing to do a little bit of work, be there and help the community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Leon, and then Mayor Pro Tem Rubalcaba.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to remind everyone about our upcoming free vaccine clinic that we're doing in collaboration with Abrazar and Mercy Health this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at St. Justin Martyr Catholic Church off of Ball Road. We'll have flu shots and COVID vaccines available. Please bring your ID and proof of insurance if you have it. We look forward to seeing you again. It is this Saturday, December 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Rápidamente en español, los queremos invitar. Este sábado 9 de diciembre vamos a tener una clínica de vacunación gratis en contra del COVID y la gripa en colaboración con Abrazar y Mercy Health. Vamos a estar en la iglesia de San Justino Mártir, que está por la calle Ball, este sábado de 9 de la mañana hasta las 12 del día. Así que esperamos verlos ahí. Congratulations and thank you to all of the organizers and volunteers of the West Anaheim tree lighting this past weekend. It was a great opportunity to come together and bring in the holiday season. A special thank you to our community services team who helped put that together. I also had the opportunity to attend the Savannah High School Brookhurst Junior High's Global Leadership and Language Academy Career Day. I was joined by a number of distinguished guests, including Assemblywoman Sharon Quirk-Silva, and it was great to join in and provide some words of encouragement for the students who are looking to decide what it is that they might want to do in the future. I know there's probably some future council members in that group. So thank you to Mr. Villa, Mr. Lee, and the entire staff, not only for the invitation and the opportunity, but for all the work that they do for our students as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I believe we have one slide. So I just wanted to highlight a car show that we have in my district this week. And I also want to thank the Downtown Anaheim Association because this event was in jeopardy of not being renewed for this year. But we were able to get the event going. It's cultural. It makes sense for the district that we currently reside in. And I also want to thank Sergio Ramirez because he was instrumental in helping me work with the association and OCM Palas to make sure that we were able to move this event forward. So if you are in the area on Saturday, I highly recommend stopping by and taking a look at the cars and bring a toy because there are several toy drives going on in the area. And then I'll also mention on the 24th, Christmas Eve, I'm working with K&A for their annual brunch. We do have several opportunities for donating a gift if you would like to do that. We are still collecting, and there are a few gift wrapping opportunities. So if you have volunteer hours for the youth that are in the room that you need to fulfill, those are good opportunities for you to engage. And that concludes my council comments for today.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Fussell?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. We all are familiar with the Orange County Family Justice Center. It's probably one of our great, most important assets, although often the city at large is not aware of the great job that they do to protect battered families. And part of their treatment programs that they offer is dance for their teens, and they just were able, just last week, to open up a dance center, a dance studio, basically on their property. And I was invited there by some of their board members and the staff, and it was wonderful to see these young teens, the talent that they have, that they're allowed now to actually use that talent and feel good about themselves, you know, and all of them come from very, very unfortunate home lives. So congratulations to Orange County Family Justice Center. Already we've talked about the Twyla Reed tree lighting. I was there with in fact, I think we were all there almost, all of us were. And no rain this year, incidentally, either. And it was nice. I think there was over 500 residents there. It turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful evening. The Museo is right across the street. And every year they have the Museo Express. If you're into model trains or small trains for the kids or the big kids who happen to like trains, the Museo Express is now open. They opened that last week. And Madam Mayor, I think you're probably going to talk about the downtown tree lighting. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that the holiday season is in full swing. So hopefully everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving and has had some opportunities to see some of the amazing things that we do around Anaheim. We were able to attend with some of my fellow council people into West Anaheim at Twyla Reed Park for the Twyla Reed tree lighting. So thank you so much to our city staff, our Anaheim police officers, as well as everyone that contributed to this wonderful event. Also had the opportunity to attend Disneyland's candlelight ceremony with Brie Larson, who was their celebrity guest, and really just highlighting the story of Christmas, the story of the Nativity, and they did a wonderful job. So it was nice to also have council colleagues there celebrating that event. And then, of course, wanted to give a special thank you to not only the Nutcracker Tree Lighting Committee, but our city staff for putting on, I think, one of the best downtown tree lighting ceremonies that I have ever been to. So if you haven't had a chance to come down to City Hall to see the amazing tree that we have right in front of the building, please do. You can take pictures, use it for your Christmas cards, and your holiday cards. But also want to thank not just our city staff and the committee, but also Anaheim Ballet that put on a performance. We had the joint choir from Anaheim Union High School District, as well as our homegrown star, Sean Olu. It was very well attended. You could see the spirit of the holidays in so many kids' faces. So thank you very much to everyone that attended the fair during the day, as well as the actual tree lighting. And just wanted to highlight, one of the, our next slide, one of the favorite things that I get to do. Yesterday, I had a Cub Scouts come and visit me and highlight about what we do at City Hall, what a mayor does, and what are the different opportunities involved in working for City Hall. So I just want to give a special shout out to our director, Dooku Lee, who spoke with the kids about our public utilities. We also had Mr. Jimenez from the Community Services Department come and talk about our parks, as well as our library systems, and our Chief of Police came and gave the kids out challenge coins and badges and talked about a career in law enforcement, and they all stayed to answer the kids' questions. So thank you very much. And these are one of the things that just highlights how amazing our city is and how really devoted our city staff and our leadership is to the community. So with that, I'd like to move on to the city manager's update. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything to report today?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council and public. I just want to also really express appreciation to our city staff for an amazing tree lighting event this last weekend. A big shout out to our community services staff for really pivoting to create a brand new event, program it, bring in awesome entertainment, all the logistics behind it. So a big, big thank you to community services. Also, our public works team, they had Anaheim Boulevard closed down, traffic control, putting up new decorations, and all the public works staff that made that event so special. And also for our police department that really added extra security to make sure that all the people that were there felt safe and comfortable. So really big thank you, a big pivot from last year to a new tradition here in Anaheim. I just can't thank our staff and so proud of everything they accomplished to make that event so special. So thank you so much.
Thank you, City Manager. We're now going to recess the City Council to address the Housing Authority agenda. Item 1 is before us. Is there a motion?
I'll move the item.
Motion and second by Councilmember Leon. Please vote.
The vote is 7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries.
So without objection, I'm going to adjourn the Housing Authority and reconvene the City Council to address the City Council consent calendar. We have items 2 through 15 before us. Are there any members of council who wish to remove an item for further discussion? I'm going to start with Council Member Leon.
Item 4, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Rubalcaba.
4 and 6.
Councilmember Meeks.
Item 15.
And Councilmember Diaz.
15.
I'm sorry, which number?
15.
Okay, 15 as well. Thank you. And then I am going to be removing item 14. So we'll start in order. Can we start with item?
Move the balance.
Thank you. Move the balance. Yes.
I have a statement to make before we do that.
Okay.
I take my glasses. I would like to disclose that I received a campaign contribution of over $250 within the last 12 months from a party involved in item 8 of today's agenda, and it is my understanding that the party will come back before council at a future time to seek an amendment to their development agreement. Pursuant to the Levine Act, I will be returning that amount to the campaign contribution above $250 within the required time frame, and thus I intend to participate in the items regarding this party in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, council members. So we have a motion and a second to move the remainder of the items. Please vote.
The vote is 7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries.
Thank you. So we're going to start with item number 4, which was requested by Mayor Pro Tem Rubalcaba and Councilmember Leon. Would you like a staff report?
I didn't need a staff report. I just had one addition to the list.
Same, yeah.
So the only addition that I had was National Voter Registration Day, which I think is September 17th, 2024. Aside from that, everything looks fine. Thank you.
And my only addition is on behalf of my husband, who works for the Public Utilities Water Department, so adding a Water Appreciation Day.
So there would have to be a motion and a second to move the current recommendation with those changes.
I'd like to make a motion to move with those changes.
And I will second.
And a second, please vote.
And the vote is 7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, Mayor Pro Tem, you pulled item number 6. Would you like a staff report?
Yes, can I get a more comprehensive staff report than what's currently provided?
I'd ask for a staff report from Director Moreno, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Before you for consideration is the annual, wrong item. Before you is, see, you miss a few days and you're out of sorts. Okay, before you for consideration is a request to amend the fiscal year 22-23 expenditure budget by $3.4 million for the associated costs with the independent investigation and the provision of homeless shelter services. At the time of the fiscal year 23-24 budget was adopted, it included projections for how we expected to finish fiscal year 22-23. Those projections include an increase of $900,000 in city administration for the independent investigation produced by the JL Group, but did not contemplate cost increases for our homeless shelters. Shelter expenses exceeded the budget by $2.5 million and were offset partially by increased homeless housing assistance program grant revenues. The operating shelter is operating at an average nightly occupancy of 97%, up from the previous daily average of 92 to 95%. And the increased occupancy brings additional security needs and higher costs for goods and services, most notably food and labor contributing to the overage. The action before you will increase the city administration general fund and total city budget by $3.4 million. This reflects a technical cleanup to align the expenditures with the adopted budget and has no impact on the current fiscal year 23-24 budget. With that, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And I know you probably mentioned it, but how is there no impact to it was shifted from another budget bucket?
This was for last year's budget. So it's just to acknowledge that we had those overruns in administration, which we knew we would have some from the JL, and then the homeless shelter services were more than we had anticipated. So we're just aligning them for financial reporting purposes.
Okay, and so we'll have it budgeted properly for 23-24?
Yes, we have all the contemplated expenditures included. When we adopted the previous year's budget, we didn't anticipate the 1.5 million for the JL group, so that was part of it as well.
Okay.
So things will come up here and then that we all know are happening, we'll include in our projections, but rather than come back onesie twosie for things, sometimes when there are these larger items that we're still trying to figure out what the entire scope will be, we'll wait and do a technical cleanup, but our projections include those items.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the explanation and welcome back.
Thank you. The next item is an item.
We want to move that.
Oh, I am so sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
The vote is 7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item to be pulled is an item that I pulled, which is item number 14.
No, eight.
Who had 8?
Kurtz. Oh, no, she reported it. Okay, just, we're good. We're good.
Thank you. I don't need a full staff report, Mr. City Manager. I just wanted to register that I'm going to be voting no on this item. I want to thank staff for meeting with me and answering some questions. I just have some concerns about the termination clause, the rental value that we're having, the investment of city resources into this property, and as something that I'm going to probably be adding as part of a agenda item at the end of the meeting, that we should be looking at having larger programs to address some of our vacant lots and some of our economic development programs that are not one-offs, but are actually part of a structured larger program for our economic development department. So with that, if we have any other, oh, do you have a comment? One moment, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd actually like a staff report on this item. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm joined today by Deputy City Attorney Ryan Hodge. The item before you is a request for a license agreement for the successor agency property located at 1687 West Lincoln Avenue for a 3-year period. By way of background, earlier this year, the city received a request from Mr. Juan Rivera for the use of the city property. Mr. Rivera operates a small business adjacent to the city property, JR's Wheels and Tires, and was in need of additional space to expand business operations. The parties entered into negotiations for a lease over the past several months, but was ultimately determined that a license agreement was the most feasible option. The successor agency property was identified as a future development property in the long-range property management plan approved by the state of California at the time of dissolution of the Anaheim Redevelopment Agency. Additionally, the subject property is impacted by environmental subsurface conditions. It's anticipated that the time frame for the cleanup of the property will take between 24 to 36 months. During that time, the subject site cannot be disposed of, and only short-term leases or license agreements can be entertained. Once the property is disposed of, it will be subject to Surplus Land Act. A license agreement, as opposed to a lease agreement, does not convey property rights that can be terminated in a short-term period. The proposed license agreement will be for 3 years and can be terminated within a 12-month notification. Consideration for the license agreement will be $5,500 per month. Use of the building by JR Tires will help reduce operating costs associated with the property management and security. Over the past several months, the site has been subject to break-ins, vandalism, and homeless encampments. The proposed license agreement would provide JR Tires with additional space needed for storage area, customer parking, vehicle storage, and additional point of sale. The building on the subject site is approximately 6,000 square feet and is in need of repairs. Staff will commission life and safety repairs subject to electrical, some plumbing, door repair, glazing, and slurry seal the parking lot. JR Tires will make other improvements above and beyond those just described. Staff identified a cost of not to exceed $50,000 to make those repairs subject to securing bids. There's sufficient funding in the successor agency funds from the economic development budget to cover the incremental cost. That concludes my presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from anyone on the council? Mayor Pro Tem?
I mainly have comments, not really questions. So first of all, I want to thank Sergio and our legal team for working with a small business owner in my district to help them find solutions, not only to scale up, but to stay in Anaheim. As a council person, one of my main priorities is economic development, and that includes retaining and attracting businesses to our region. Not only big businesses, but small businesses that deliver services and products to people. Our police department utilizes JR Tires, and so do many people in my district. So thank you for figuring out a solution, not only to help that business, but also to help the residents of Anaheim, because it's located on a very visible street. And I think we solved a few problems, like you mentioned in your report. We had a blighted area, lots of unhoused individuals, unfortunately, were congregating there. We are working on housing solutions for people who are unhoused, but it did create a public safety issue. So on behalf of the residents of District 3, I think people will be happy to see a business operating in the area and us utilizing some parcels in Anaheim that are currently vacant. I believe you mentioned this is also a contaminated parcel, so it would be limited to what could actually be on that property.
Sorry. The contaminated property is adjacent, but there's some traces of subsurface and contamination that impact the property. So it will require cleanup of the subject property, but also the adjacent property to the east.
Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Diaz?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. District 1, we have several empty lots, empty stores. It's no good. It's no good for society. It's no good for Anaheim. It's a magnet for illegal activities. To keep this place clean, it costs the city money. It does clean this, it costs the city money. We had the alternative of demolishing, fencing that, and then hiring security to keep this place safe. Or we can approve tonight, it's gonna bring up to standards, it's gonna be clean, it's gonna bring some sales taxes to the city, it's gonna bring some revenues, 5,500, not much, but at least it's something. And most importantly, the community has something that is not empty, it's not a magnet for illegal activities. So I would like to move this item forward. I'm looking for a second one.
I'll second it.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second? Do we have any further comments?
The vote is 6 ayes, 1 nay, nay by Mayor Aiken. Motion carries.
Next item was pulled by both Councilmember Meeks and Councilmember Diaz, number 15.
I have just a comment and then a request for staff on this. As I talked last week, I don't believe this is a necessary ordinance with our calendars. I think our calendars, making them public, is our sunshine ordinance. I don't think we need to follow other agencies on how they do a lobbying report. I think our calendars being public, that policy will be the new standard for government, and that there will be no loopholes, no ambiguity, nobody trying to assess what is and what isn't. Our calendars will be public. I think having this ordinance is fundamentally bad government. It's bureaucratic red tape without benefit to the public. It shifts the burden from us to determine what needs to go on our calendars to outside people that need to interpret what we mean and what we're trying to say in our ordinance, which can be complicated. I think we've all seen that through the discussions of the last month. And also, it bothers me that our justification for this extra burden and cost that we're putting on this requirement is justified because, don't worry, we'll have a fee for it and they'll have to pay for it. I mean, I think that that is just fundamentally bad government when we create unnecessary bureaucracy, but it's okay because we're gonna have a fee for it and it's not gonna cost us anything. So I would like to have a report after 1 year on this and track how much this is costing in staff time and what benefit we are getting out of it as far as transparency to the community and to the public. Are things coming up on the lobbying report that isn't on our calendar, and how we can maybe streamline this duplicative effort in the next following year. So that, and I want to make sure that we track the costs on this, because I know a lot of it's going to be our management, who don't necessarily itemize their hours and work. So if you could really make an effort to track the amount of time and resources that we're dedicating to this, I would appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilmember Diaz, do you have a comment or question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just, I think it's too complicated, and I think to publish our schedule for the public is a big transparency. So also to be consistent with last week, I will vote no on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Campos-Kurtz?
Thank you. While I support the measure, I really like Councilmember Meek's comments on tracking exactly what is being achieved with this cost and the results, you know, our calendar versus the lobbyist registration, all of that. We should actually do this anytime we enact something new. We need to better understand the cost and implication to not just additional work of our staff, but is it getting us what we want to get? And I think we have a whole list now of items for the new ethics officer and that group that he or she will be working with. But I think this definitely needs to be added.
Thank you. If there's no other comments or questions, can we have a motion and a second? I'll second. So we have a motion and a second. Oh, I'm going to wait for the Mayor Pro Tem. Excuse me.
And Mayor, while we're waiting, I'll read the ordinance title into the record.
Thank you very much.
Ordinance number 6563, an adoption of an ordinance of the City of Anaheim, amending sections 1.11.010 definitions, 1.11.070 lobbyist registration, and 1.11.090 of Chapter 1.11 Sunshine Provisions of the Anaheim Municipal Code to straighten and expand the regulations applicable to lobbyists, and Section 1.11.080 revolving door to modify the restrictions on employment of lobbyists and require lobbyists who act as advisors to city officials to report their activity.
Thank you. Please vote.
And the vote is 5 ayes, 2 nays. Nays recorded from Councilmember Diaz and Councilmember Meeks. Motion carries. Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. So we're now going to move on to the business calendar. I cannot believe it has been a year since we joined in as colleagues as a council. So we are now moving to the year, looking forward to year 2. So item 16 on our agenda is the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem for the 2024 calendar years. We can take nominations, and then a vote will be taken in the order that they were nominated. I'd like to make a nomination for Councilmember Norma Campos-Kurtz as Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. And a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem. We also have Councilmember Meeks.
I was going to make that same nomination, so wonderful, but I also want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Rubalcaba for her year of service and taking on those additional responsibilities, and you've done a great job, so thank you.
And we get her for one more meeting. She's not done yet. Yeah, thank you. That's very nice, even though it's early. So we have one, do we have any other motions? Okay, so please vote.
The vote is 7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries.
Congratulations, Councilmember Kurtz. I look forward to having you as Mayor Pro Tem in 2024. Would you like to make some comments?
Yes, thank you very much for the nomination, and thank you to my peers for supporting that. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on, Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything to report out of closed session?
No reportable action, Mayor.
And do we have any public comments for non-agenda items that we did not get to in the first section?
No, Mayor.
So this is the time for future agenda item requests by council members. Do we have any council members that would like to request a future agenda item? Mayor Pro Tem Rubalcaba?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to have staff, city manager and city attorney come back with an overview of the hotel worker safety ordinance and how it will be implemented. I'd like to see the plan for rollout and notification for all of the, what do we have, 146 hotels in the city of Anaheim and motels. So if we can get a report on that at an upcoming meeting, ideally the next one if possible, that'd be great.
Thank you. Councilmember Meeks?
Yes, I'd like to make a request, and I've noticed in our year here and tracking the TOT that great news, it often comes in over budget, which really helps our revenues in our city here and deliver a lot of great projects. I would like to have a list of small projects and things that are really community-driven, one-time improvements, whether it's new sidewalks or in a neighborhood or paving or trees or whatever those things are, that we can deliver to our community when the TOT is over our budget amount, so that overage doesn't just kind of disappear into our general fund budget, but we're actually delivering additional benefits to the community with that. So if staff could work on maybe just having a list ready, and then we can approve that improvement as we realize additional revenues. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Diaz?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to follow up with Mayor Pro Tem with how the hotel worker ordinance will be implemented at the Beach Boulevard hotels and all the hotels in Lincoln Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kurtz?
Along with the comments and the information requested by Councilmember Meeks, I know we get a report on the TOT, but if we could have some information on maybe the last 6 months of the TOT, what actual dollar amount did we get? I know it's reported, but I think it would be nice to make it public so that our residents can see how much our community is benefiting, and then along that line, we know how many things we are be able to take a look at on that wish list of items we'd like to take care of with that additional TOT list. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Just one other item, and I know the mayor is on board with this because we talked about it, but I figured I'd just mention it. If we could bring in the Anaheim High School water polo team because they made it to finals, and I will work with Loretta, but I just wanted to see if we can get that in before the end of the year. I know that's cutting it kind of close, but.
Thank you. All right, with no other business before the council, I would like to close and adjourn this meeting and be in the memory of Kelly Rowe, and we will see you next week.